clash of spears against shields echoes across the battlefield as a living wall of warriors advances, relentless and disciplined, crushing everything in its path. Each soldier, with his long sarissa extended, is a piece of a perfect war machine, where the individual disappears in favor of the collective, and the strength of unity becomes indestructible. This was no ordinary formation. It was the Macedonian Phalanx, the revolutionary tactic that transformed a peripheral kingdom into a global empire and led Alexander the Great to rewrite the course of history. Before Macedonia's rise, the Greek city-states had already been using the phalanx as a combat formation, but their ranks were composed of heavily armored hoplites, armed with short spears and protected by large shields. This structure worked well in battles fought on flat terrain but was limited in its flexibility and reach. It was Philip II, the visionary king of Macedonia, who realized that the phalanx could be far deadlier if combined with tactical innovations and a professionalized army. Inspired by Greek models but adapting them to his own reality, Philip reformed the Macedonian infantry and introduced one of the most formidable weapons of antiquity. The sarissa, a spear that could reach up to 7 meters in length, allowing multiple rows of soldiers to attack simultaneously, keeping the enemy at bay and breaking any frontal charge. However, a powerful weapon was not enough without an army properly trained to wield it with mastery. Philip II instituted a rigorous training system that turned his soldiers not just into warriors, but into pieces of an extremely coordinated war machine. Unlike conventional armies, which often relied on citizens summoned in times of war, the Macedonian Phalanx was composed of professional soldiers, disciplined and prepared to march long distances without losing cohesion. They trained exhaustively to maintain formation under any circumstances, learning to advance, retreat, and turn with precision, making them practically invulnerable to frontal attacks. This reformed army allowed Philip II to unify Macedonia and subjugate his Greek neighbors, paving the way for his son, Alexander, to take this strategy to an unprecedented level. With Philip II's death, Alexander took the throne and inherited not only a stable kingdom but also an unbeatable army. However, for a leader as ambitious as him, merely maintaining his father's legacy was not enough. He needed to perfect it. Alexander took the Macedonian Phalanx to new heights, making it even deadlier by integrating it with other combat units, such as his elite cavalry, the Hetairoi, the companions of the king. While the phalanx formed an almost impenetrable barrier at the front line, the cavalry struck the enemy's flanks and rear, destabilizing any opposing formation. This coordinated use of infantry and cavalry created a new dynamic in warfare, where the phalanx not only held the enemy at bay, but also set up the final blow that ensured victory. More than just a brilliant strategist, Alexander was a commander who understood battlefield challenges and knew how to adapt his phalanx to different terrains and enemies. Throughout his campaign, he faced everything from the organized armies of the Persians to the chaotic forces of Central Asian tribes and the fearsome Indian war elephants. Each new challenge required tactical adjustments, but the discipline and training of the phalanx ensured that it remained effective in any situation. Under Alexander's command, the phalanx ceased to be merely a defensive formation and became an unstoppable offensive machine, capable of crushing empires and transforming a young Macedonian king into the greatest conqueror of antiquity. The true test of the Macedonian phalanx's supremacy came on the battlefield, where Alexander the Great demonstrated his tactical genius against some of the greatest armies of antiquity. At Kyrenia, 338 BC, still under Philip II's command, the phalanx proved its worth by facing and defeating the coalition of Greek city-states, securing Macedonian hegemony over Greece. But it was during the campaign against the Persian Empire that this formation revealed its full potential. At the Battle of the Granicus, 334 BC, the phalanx crossed a river under a hail of arrows and crushed the Persian forces on the opposite bank, opening the way for the conquest of Asia Minor. It was only the beginning of a series of victories that would cement Macedonian dominance over the known world. The true challenge came at Issus, 333 BC, where Alexander, with a numerically inferior army, faced the Persian king Darius III. The phalanx held the line against the Persian infantry's assaults, while Alexander led a devastating attack against the enemy center, forcing Darius to flee the battlefield. But no battle demonstrated the effectiveness of this formation better than Gaugamela, 331 BC, where Alexander faced a Persian army vastly superior in numbers. Commanding his phalanx to maintain an impenetrable defense, he exploited a gap in the enemy lines and launched a decisive attack against Darius, securing the victory that marked the end of the Persian Empire. The world now belonged to the Macedonian king. Despite its unparalleled strength, the phalanx was not invincible. In the clash against Indian war elephants at the Battle of the Hydaspes, 326 BC, the Macedonian soldiers faced an enemy their rigid formation had never encountered before. The sarissas were effective against cavalry and infantry, but the enormous Indian elephants advanced like living fortresses, crushing everything in their path. Even so, the discipline of the phalanx allowed Alexander to find a solution. Using his light infantry to wound the elephants and wear them down before the direct clash, he managed to neutralize the threat and secure yet another victory. This episode proved that, despite its limitations, the phalanx was an incredibly adaptable formation, capable of evolving according to the needs of war. The strength of the Macedonian phalanx lay in its disciplined structure and the lethality of the sarissa, which created a wall of spears capable of stopping any frontal enemy charge. Organized into compact, deep ranks, each soldier protected not only himself but also his comrade beside him, forming a cohesive and impenetrable unit. The front rows attacked with extended spears, while those behind kept their sarissas tilted forward, ready to replace the fallen and maintain pressure on the enemy. This combination of resilience and offensive power allowed the phalanx to advance as a solid block, crushing opponents who dared to face it head-on. However, this moving fortress had a weakness: its flanks and rear. If an enemy army managed to outflank it, its rigidity made reorganization difficult, potentially leading to the formation's complete destruction. To compensate for this vulnerability, Alexander implemented a system of auxiliary units that ensured protection and flexibility for the army. The elite Hittite cavalry struck enemy flanks and protected the sides of the phalanx, while light infantry troops, such as the peltasts, used mobility and threw javelins to weaken opponents before melee combat. Additionally, archers and slingers provided long-range support, weakening enemy lines before the main clash. This combination of forces turned the phalanx into a sophisticated tactical engine, ensuring that its effectiveness did not rely solely on brute strength, but also on precise coordination between different types of troops. With this innovative approach, Alexander made his phalanx not just resilient but also adaptable to the most diverse combat conditions. The legacy of the Macedonian phalanx extended far beyond Alexander's conquests, influencing generations of commanders and armies throughout history. After the conqueror's death, his successors, the Diadochi, continued to use the phalanx as the core of their armies, fighting epic battles for control of the fragmented empire. However, without Alexander's tactical genius, many of his successors became overly reliant on the formation, making it rigid and predictable. Over time, the phalanx began to show its limitations against more flexible and versatile armies, such as the Roman legions. The Battle of Pydna, 168 BC, where the Romans defeated the Macedonians by exploiting the phalanx's weaknesses on uneven terrain, marked the definitive decline of this military formation that had dominated battlefields for centuries. Even as it became obsolete compared to the legions, the phalanx's influence did not disappear. Elements of this formation were adapted by various civilizations, and its emphasis on discipline, coordination, and intensive training inspired armies throughout history. In the medieval period, Swiss pikemen formations and the Spanish tercios of the 16th century followed similar principles to the phalanx, using long spears and group cohesion to win battles. Even in modern warfare, the concept of highly organized infantry units advancing in synchronization owes part of its origins to the tactical revolution introduced by Philip II and Alexander the Great. After all, the Macedonian phalanx was not just a military strategy. It was a milestone in the evolution of warfare, proving that discipline and organization could overcome numbers and brute force. If you enjoyed this epic journey through the history of the Macedonian phalanx and want to continue exploring the tactics and great feats of the greatest warriors of antiquity, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. This helps us bring you more incredible content about battles, empires, and strategies that changed the world. Comment below which military formation you'd like to see in the next video and share this knowledge with others who love history. See you in the next battle. Legends never die. They are told.